if work feels pointless, your motivation isn't the problem, your meaning system is. Today, you'll learn why your brain shuts down when your job feels empty, the psychology behind modern workplace meaninglessness, and the tools that help you reconnect to purpose even when the work itself doesn't change. So stay tuned. Welcome back to Workplace Therapy with me, Dr. Abby Metcalf. I hope you love this topic today. It's come up quite a bit with my clients recently. So I thought, and I have very high achieving clients, and they still, in general, this comes from people who make a lot of money and who don't, so I thought it would be such a good thing to talk about on the podcast, since I think it relates to so many people. And there's a particular kind of heaviness that comes when work feels pointless. You wake up tired, you stare at your calendar, like it's a punishment. You go through the motions a lot, but you're not really kind of in it. You're productive, but you don't feel sort of alive. You're checked in on paper and really checked out everywhere else. That's sort of how that feels and looks. And so, of course, you start asking yourself questions you don't want to answer. Like, is this really it? Does any of this matter? Why am I doing all this? And these are the questions my clients have been coming with sometimes, not all of them, but some of them, and over time. And I thought we really need to talk about it. And I know this can feel depressing, but I kind of like to put a little bit of a new spin on this. As you know, I like to have a different kind of outlook for things. I tell my clients, when work feels pointless, your brain is telling you something important. We humans are wired for meaning. We're not wired for happiness. We're wired for meaning. I mean, happiness is something else, right? We're wired for contribution, for impact, coherence, connection. These are the things we're wired for. And when those needs aren't being met, your motivation really collapses. So you're not lazy. It's like a disconnection. And the research shows that meaning is one of the strongest predictors of engagement and well-being. Excuse me. When meaning drops, we know this from the research, burnout rises. And again, all the research and the great free download I have today, you can find under the video or on my website, abbymetcalf.com. And so I want you to really hear that again. When your meaning drops, your burnout rises. That's what happens. And I can only speak, I love all of my work so much. And I have to tell you, I never feel burnt out no matter how much I'm working. It's truly incredible. Now, obviously, some of that is because I work for myself, but I know a lot of solopreneurs like I am who are very burnout. So, I know a lot of people think, well, if I didn't have a boss, then I'd be great. It's people without a boss sometimes are more burnout than anybody else. So, but that meaning piece is, I really do speak from experience, although today's not about me, it's about what I found with my clients who, find what I have found. It changes everything. Because when work feels, this word incoherent, I'll keep talking about that in a minute. I'll talk more about that in a minute. When it feels misaligned with your values, your brain reduces dopamine release. Get that? When there's a wobble between work and your meaning, or work, your values, your brain reduces the amount of dopamine it releases. And that makes motivation feel like pushing a car up a hill, right? I know it's like when you need it the most and it goes. So, but I want to talk about why work feels pointless. When people say my job feels pointless, they usually think they're talking about motivation or burnout, and they're really not. If you're saying those things, you're talking about, again, meaning. And if your meaning system is depleted, you're going to think your work is senseless. Now, from the research, we know that meaning has three components, okay? Three components. And I mentioned coherence, which I'll explain more in a minute, purpose, and the third is significance. When any one of these cracks, the whole structure starts to wobble, right? So let's talk about coherence. Coherence first. It's at its core, it's this makes sense. Coherence is your brain's need for things to line up logically, cause and effect, effort and outcome, actions and rationale. Work loses coherence when decisions feel random or politically driven, when goals change without explanation from the organization or your boss or whoever. When you're told things like to prioritize speed one week and perfection the next, when you get those sort of double messages. When leadership says one thing but rewards another thing, and I just realized my phone dinger is on, so excuse me. Okay. Right? Though your nervous system hates nonsense. Okay. So when work stops making sense and there's hypocrisy or, all that, like, it doesn't make sense, your brain shifts into sort of a low grade threat response. You're not inspired. You're not curious. You're vigilant. You spend more energy trying to figure out what's really going on than actually doing your job. And because you're all gossiping after work or during work or whatever about all the problems, that's what that is. When coherence breaks, people say things like, I don't know what they actually want. I don't see how this connects to anything. I'm just doing tasks, not really solving problems. That's how you know coherence is broken. The second piece is coherence, and then there's purpose. Purpose is this matters. Purpose is about contribution. It's the answer to that little quiet question you're always asking, even if you don't realize, which is really, why does this exist? What does this piece of paper mean, kind of thing. And purpose erodes when your work never connects to an outcome you can see, big problem. When everything is framed around metrics instead of impact. When you're solving problems no one seems to care about. When the mission statement lives on a wall, but not in the decisions that your company makes, that you make. You don't need to save the world to have purpose. Okay, that's not what that's about. But you do need to know that what you're doing moves something forward, it improves something, it helps someone somewhere. It's got to feel that way. When purpose is missing, work feels like busy work with a paycheck. Okay. And it's missing because people say things like, I just heard this one recently. I'm trying to remember. This could disappear tomorrow. Nothing would change. All that work I just did could disappear tomorrow. Nothing would change. I don't actually know who this is helping. I've heard that. I don't know who this is actually helping, kind of thing. I'm just feeding a machine. That idea that you're just feeding a machine. Purpose isn't about passion. It's about relevance. That's what you have to remember with that. Okay. And then the third thing is significance, which is basically I matter. And, this is the most personal one. It's the most painful one, because significance is the felt sense that you matter not just your output, that your presence, your judgment, your effort count, you specifically, Abby Metcalf, or whoever you are, right? And significance breaks down when you're treated as replaceable, right? Rather than relational. It breaks down when feedback only shows up when something's wrong. It breaks down when your experience is ignored in favor of hierarchy. It breaks down when you're invisible. Again, like, unless you mess up. I guess I already said that, but you know what I mean? Humans are wired for social value. When your work environment strips away recognition or anything like that, it doesn't just bruise morale, it erodes identity. When significance is depleted, people don't say, I feel insignificant. That's not what they're saying. They say, no one would notice if I left. I'm just a cog, in this wheel. I don't think they actually care who does this as long as it gets done. That's the sorts of things you hear. Okay. Yeah. So now there's 3 motivation traps, I'm going to call them, I guess, that make all this worse. Like, those 3 were bad enough, right? One is that you're waiting to feel inspired. Motivation does not, I say this all the time, doesn't show up before action. It shows up because of action. I'm going to say it again. Motivation doesn't show up before action. It shows up because of action. Motivation is a state, not a trait. People aren't motivated. People aren't, happy. People aren't energized. It's a state. It's not a trait. It's not something that's there all the time. So when you take action, you find more motivation. I will tell you, it happens every single time I go to the gym. I never want to go. I never want to go. I know you people who love to go. God bless you. It's not me. I really never want to go, but I feel really good once I'm there and I start to get into it. It's like I start to take action. It starts to really feel good. When you wait to feel motivated, nothing changes. Nothing changes. So that's trap one. Two is you're trying to force positivity. Ugh. Toxic positivity, because that's what that is, really disconnects you from your real experience. You can't lie your way into feeling engaged. I will tell you that. And I did an episode on the Relationships Made Easy podcast about toxic positivity and how it can ruin your relationships. So all of them, not just work, not just home. So I'll link to that in the notes. When you come look at the blog. And the third trap I see people falling into is assuming you need a new job. Yeah, sometimes you do, but often you need a new relationship with the job you have. I'm going to say that again. Most of the time, you need a new relationship with the job you already have. Meaning can be rebuilt inside your current role before you jump ship. I see it all the time. I help people do it all the time. You just have to think about it. So let's do that. What you can do. And these are 5 ways to rebuild your motivation when everything is feeling pointless, right? One is to reconnect to micro meaning. And all these come from the research as always, and all these come from things I've done with clients at work. Okay, so that's always where the intersection is of what I talk about. It's research, things I've practiced in my 40 years of doing this. When I put those together, the ones that rise to the top, the things that I consistently have people say, oh my God, that was so helpful. Guess what? Those go on the podcast. The rest of it, nah. So number 1 here is reconnect to micro meaning. Your brain does not need a grand purpose. It needs small, repeated cues of relevance. It needs to know it's relevant. So ask yourself, I have my clients do a simple thing. I say, ask yourself, who benefits from what I'm doing today? Just answer that one thing and you will find a difference. The research shows that even a 5% improvement in perceived meaning increases motivation and resilience. Okay, so you don't have to do much, just 5%. Don't look for fireworks, look for some sparks, just some little sparks, okay? Number 2 is create completion moments. Your brain releases dopamine when you complete something. So when work feels pointless, you lose those hits. So I call this the 5-minute finish, which now that I'm laughing because it feels oddly like some weird sex thing, but it's not. Pick anything you can complete at work in 5 minutes. Okay. Do it and mark it done. That's it. Get that. Let your nervous system feel the progress again. That's really what you're trying to do. I don't care what it is. It could be going to make copies of something but mark it. Be conscious of it. Notice it. Dopamine loves closure. So getting some little hits is really, really important. Intentionally. The third thing I would tell you to do is to shift from control to influence. When work feels meaningless, it's usually because you're focusing on what you can't control. So ask yourself, what's one thing I can influence today? That's what you do. Influence creates empowerment. Empowerment rebuilds agency, and agency fuels motivation. That's how that little train works. So you're gonna do that too. And number 4 is to anchor your work to a value. You don't need your job to match your entire value system. You need it to match at least one value. Okay, just one. So an example is I value growth, and this project is stretching me. I value stability. This job provides stability. I value service. My work supports other people. Do you see that? Value really gives meaning like a structure to it, like makes it like something you can touch. Okay. And the fifth thing I have my clients do is identify what I call your energy signature tasks. Not all work drains you. Some tasks give you momentum. Some restore you and some remind you, like of who you are. They bring you back. So I want you to list 3 tasks that consistently energize you. And then you're going to do one of those tasks before noon every day. For me, like it might be something like one of the things, excuse me, I always have to read. I do a lot of reading. I do a lot of reading. And I make that part of my workday to do 15 minutes of reading every single day. That's why I've finished so many books. And I'm also a fast reader. So sometimes I have 20 minutes, sometimes 30, but I always make sure it's at least 50. It's 15. 15 is my number. And if I can squeeze in more, I do. Like not more than a half hour though. And I schedule that. So because it's a task that energizes me. I love it. I sit down, I put my feet up. If you're looking on the video, I have a couch behind me here in my office. I put my feet up and I, grab something to drink and I read. And I usually take notes or I highlight, I do the whole thing. But I love it. I love to read, obviously, with what I do. I love to research for the research is probably my very, 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 very favorite thing. Reading, research, that kind of thing. So sometimes I'm here at my desk reading something online, but I get like the old school paper journals still for things, abnormal psych or something. I really like to read the research and the studies, but however you do that, and I know you're like, Abby, that is not going to motivate me. It's whatever, you have something at work that energizes you. You do. 3 tasks that you like doing. They're usually the things you do first. Motivation is going to grow when you touch work that feels alive, for a better definition, right? So, okay. So I want to wrap up by saying when work feels pointless, your brain isn't failing you, it's signaling misalignment. It's telling you that connection, meaning, autonomy, impact have somehow fallen away, have fallen out of your view. So and it's at these times, it's really important to remember that you can rebuild meaning without changing jobs. You can connect to your values without, rewriting your whole life and, blowing everything up. And you can really create kind of micro purpose, even in a really messy kind of workplace. Motivation isn't a feeling. It's a relationship you rebuild with your work, right? That's what you're doing. And that's what I'm talking about. All right. So putting today's lesson into action, we always have these on the podcast. It's today's free download. I'm calling it the Meaning Map. It's a 1-page guide to rebuilding motivation at work. So what's in it is there's a meaning kind of triage tool to help you identify which part of your meaning system is depleted. There's a values alignment worksheet, a micro meaning list maker, you'll see. And then there's a 5-minute energy signature exercise. Okay, so all that is in this little thing. And you can get the download again below the video or go to my website, abbymetcalf.com, and go to episodes and you'll find the workplace therapy. There's 2, podcasts there. Just go to this one and find this particular episode and everything will all be in one beautiful place for you. All right, that's it for this week. Thanks for hanging with me. And actually, this is the end of this season of season 2 of Workplace Therapy. If you have any ideas you'd like to see in season 3, then let me know. Abby at abbymetcalf.com. Comment below a video if you're watching. Please like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. And, I'm here. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye.